Sup gamers, Randy Potato here with a guide to the Foeter biome. We'll cover the Foeter enemy pool, the unique conditions and trinkets found in this region, and how to defeat the region boss, the Harvest Child. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe, and click that join button or sub to my Patreon in the description if you want early access to all my upcoming videos. The Foeter is the dedicated blight region, with enemies featuring heavy blight attacks and blight resist, along with disease. Certain enemies interact with corpses, consuming them to provide powerful buffs, and in some cases even producing corpses. The Foeter features relatively less hospitals, less oases, more caches and assistant encounters, and a guaranteed creature den. The region trinkets are primarily blight-based. The Lair Boss is in my opinion the easiest in the game, though its specific mechanics can make for a frustrating and RNG-heavy experience. The trophies are powerful, either giving you an astounding 50% HP boost while maneuvering your DBR, or a wild plus 25 inventory slots. Corpse Clear is the most important mechanic to pack, and save any disease and blight resist you have for this region. Now let's move on to the specialized enemy pool. Livestock is a 14 HP foe with average resist except for boosted blight resist. It has no DBR. It spawns with 2 fodder tokens, which are consumed by other allies in exchange for regen or health as a free action. They have 4 attacks. Headbutt is a front 2 to front 2 single target attack doing 3 to 7 damage and a knockback of 1. Beast of Burden is front row to back row, dealing 2 to 5 damage and a pull of 1. Battering Ram is usable from the back row to front row, dealing 3 to 7 damage, moving himself forward 3, while knocking the target back and having a chance of daze. Invasive Species is usable only from rank 1 to rank 1 or 2, dealing 6 to 9 damage, chance of 1 or 2 stress, and destroying 1 positive token. It also has a riposte, activated by the Maid, that deals 2 to 5 damage and a 15% chance of disease. Black Phillip is the elite version of the Livestock. They have 20 HP, a slightly stronger resist profile, and no DBR. They spawn with 3 fodder and have 2 actions per round. They retain Headbutt, Beast of Burden, and Battering Ram, all with the same damage and effects as the Livestock. In addition, they have King of It All, only usable against any enemy with a combo token. It's an any rank to any rank attack, doing 6 to 10 damage, a chance at 1 or 2 stress, a knockback of 3, and steals 2 positive tokens. The riposte does 4 to 6 damage again with a 15% chance at disease. The Butcher has 23 HP with average resist profile and no DBR. They have Vile Feast, only usable with a fodder and token in play. It consumes the token and heals themselves and their allies 10% max HP. From the front row they have Carve, usable only against the front row, doing 3 to 7 damage with 4 bleed. Meat Hook is a back row to back row attack, pulling the target forward and a chance at adding Vuln. And Hack is usable only from rank 4 to the front row, doing 2 to 5 damage. The Maid has 18 HP, slightly higher blight resist, and no DBR. She has 10 the Flock, usable from any rank on a Livestock, removing all their dots and adding a block and 2 repose tokens with a 1 turn cooldown. From the back row they have Larval Slop, usable against the back 3, dealing 2 to 5 damage, 4 blight, and a 75% chance of stress. From the front they only have Backsplash, which targets ranks 1 and 2 for 2 to 3 damage while moving them back 1. And finally, with a Black Phillip in the party, they have Ram's Feast, usable from the back to the front row, doing 2 to 5 damage, 1 stress, and applying a combo. The Lady is a 20 HP foe with a high 75% resistance to blight. They also have a 25% DBR. Feeding Time is usable from any rank and consumes a fodder token. It provides Lady with regen, 1 speed, and an extra action, while causing a random party member stress. Mother's Embrace is an AoE targeting ranks 2 to 3 from the back row, dealing 2 to 3 damage and pulling both forward 1. Be Our Guest is a back row to back row AoE, dealing 2 to 3 damage, 4 blight, and a 75% chance at stress. Mulch is a front row to front row AoE, doing 3 to 7 damage, 1 stress, and a 10% chance at disease. If a corpse is available, they can also eat the corpse for a 25% heal, dot clear, and 1 stress on a random ally, while giving themselves a corpulent token. With the corpulent token, They unlock Bilious Whale, a full party AoE usable from any rank that does 2 to 3 damage, 3 blight, and a chance at 1 or 2 stress. The Lord is a size 2 30 HP enemy with 75% blight resist and 25% DBR resist. The Lord also has feeding time, the same as the Lady. From any rank they can use Tongue Lashing, which gives their ally a strength token and moves them forward 1. From any rank they can use Fleshy Backhand, dealing 6 to 9 damage and knocking the target back 2 ranks. From the back row they can only do Baneful Breath, a full party AoE, dealing 2 to 5 damage, a 25% chance at weak, a 10% chance at disease, and a 50% chance to inflict stress. This enemy can also consume corpses, getting the same bonuses as the Lady. When the Lord has Corpulent, however, he can use Bilious Cannon, usable from any rank to any rank, doing 8 to 14 damage, a chance at 2 or 3 stress, and adding a stun. Finally, we have the Dinner Cart with a whopping 40 HP, 75% blight resist, and 25% DBR. From the back row, they have Sickly Sweet, usable against any rank, dealing 6 to 10 damage, adding a taunt and blind token, and a 10% chance to disease. From the front row, they can only Excoriate, usable against the front row, dealing 6 to 8 damage and 3 bleed, while moving the cart back 1. And from any rank, they can use Regurgitate when their side has an empty rank, a front row AoE dealing 2 to 3 damage, 1 stress, and moving the cart to the back while spawning a Putrid Meat, which acts like an enemy corpse. With a corpse on the battlefield, the Dinner Cart can consume it, getting the same benefits as the Lord and Lady. With a Corpulent token, it can use Bilious Mortar, usable only from the back row against any rank, doing 6 to 8 damage, 3 blight, 2 stress, and a 15% chance of disease. Now let's discuss the various enemy mashes and how to deal with them. The danger of livestock by themselves largely depends on how susceptible your party is to shuffle and the positioning of the livestock. If your team is fine being moved around or has high move resist, or the immobilized trophy, then these guys pose little threat by themselves, unless they occupy rank 1, which they often do, and can do invasive species. In the back ranks, they simply move to the front, so if you plan on manipulating positioning, you have to stick them specifically in rank 2. Still, the pathetic HP pool makes them a reliable round 1 kill, so I generally take that. Plus they are rarely by themselves, they are buffed and provide buffs to other Plague Eaters. When the livestock graduate to their elite form, Black Phillip, it's a quite different story. With 2 actions around, they present a much firmer threat and should be dealt with immediately. Again, they lack DBR, so it's simply a matter of straight DPS to eliminate them. Butchers are overall the weakest enemy of the bunch. The most challenging aspect of them is not their moveset, but the passive damage boost to livestock, which makes livestock again the top target, not the butcher with relatively higher HP. It's almost every conceivable scenario I will leave these as last alive. They're useless in rank 4, but they're practically useless in every rank, so manipulating positioning isn't a priority for me. If a maid is in the comp, she immediately becomes the top threat with her constant stress and blight damage. Thankfully, again, she has average HP and no DBR, though since she lives in the back rank, oftentimes it's easier to eliminate livestock first, which she can buff. She is the most easily susceptible to movement, being completely garbage in the front 2 ranks, so if it's say a double livestock maid comp, quickly removing the livestock and corpses gives you an easy fight to stall and heal against. Unlike the final 3 enemies, she does not eat corpses, so clear is not a huge priority, except as previously stated to move her to the front row. Now on to the true Plague Eaters, all 3 with DBR. First is the Lady, who can spawn anywhere and has relevant attacks from every position, every one of them AoE, most of them with stress, blight, and disease. Between her relatively low HP and the danger presented, she's often my first priority even with her DBR, assuming you have enough damage to reach her rank. Another reason to prioritize her, besides avoiding crippling your team long term, is she can consume corpses and nuke your team. Manipulating her position doesn't really matter unless you need to do so to kill her easier, so just focus on flat damage and DOTs if possible. If you do end up prioritizing another foe first, such as livestock, take great care to eliminate the corpses as soon as possible. The Lord is a hefty opponent, heavily dependent on positioning for his danger. Baneful Breath is his only real dangerous base move, and it's only usable from the back row, so any sort of movement is optimal to taking him out of the fight without actually having to rush down his sizable HP pool and cut through his DBR. I generally leave him last to kill, assuming I can get him out of the back row, either by moving him or eliminating weaker enemies and removing their corpses. Like the lady, it's absolutely crucial you do not allow him to eat a corpse, or blind and or kill him if he happens to do so. If your team has relatively low HP, getting taunts up is pretty key too, as this fleshy backhand move can do pretty solid damage, even if it's not as dangerous as his back row moves. And finally, the dinner cart, another quite dangerous size 2 enemy, heavily susceptible to movement. Their HP generally means you leave them for last, but you absolutely either want to move them to the front for safety from their toughest attacks, or at least set up a tank to absorb their blows. Again, removing corpses is important to prevent them from eating, but if there's space, dinner carts can make their own corpses, so you need to be conscious of that and pack either backup corpse clear or at least some blind. Now onto the Lair Boss, the Harvest Child. This boss is a size 2 enemy with 120 HP, 2 actions per round, 33% DBR, and fairly high blight resist. The Harvest Child will always spawn in the back row with fetid and putrid meat in front of it. The main mechanic of this fight is Harvest Hunger, which is a debuff applied by the respective meats. Fetid meat features 47 HP and high blight resist, while putrid meat has 54 HP and low resist across the board. The fetid meat has just 1 attack, Tempting Aroma, a back row AoE that deals 1 to 2 damage with a 67% chance of applying a Harvest Hunger token and 50% chance of applying Blind. The putrid meat can only use Mouthwatering Aroma, which is a front row AoE with the same chance at Harvest Hunger and 50% chance to apply Vuln. The Harvest Hunger is a debuff, meaning it also rolls against debuff resist and can be removed with Indiscriminate Science. It lasts 1 turn and will move your hero forward 1 rank. If your hero either starts or ends up in rank 1 as a result of this hunger, they will be forced to use Feed the Hunger, a small damaging attack on one of the meats, heals 1 stress, and lose 15% max HP for the combat only, while losing the rest of their turn. This debuff cannot be resisted with move resist once applied. The only way to block this is with immobilized tokens, either the General's Dream or 1 hero planting in rank 1 with Immobilize. As for the Harvest Child itself, as I said before, it has 2 attacks per round. From ranks 2 to 3, the child can either use Tantalizing Tidbit, a single target attack against any rank doing 2 to 4 damage with a stress, or Sapid Drippings, a back row AoE dealing 2 to 3 damage and 2 blight. Both these attacks move the child up 1 rank. When the child is in rank 1, they will always use Maws of Life, a front row AoE nuke that deals 6 to 10 damage and 3 bleed, and moves them back 2. The whole key to this fight is managing Harvest Hunger and rushing down the boss before the DOTs get to you. Only Maws of Life inflicts heavy damage, with the rest being annoying but manageable stress hits. There are 2 primary ways of dealing with the meat. Putrid meat should be your primary target, as they're the ones who cause front row hunger, which is how you end up losing your turn, rather than the back row hunger that just shuffles you around. The easiest option, of course, is to have the Immobilized Trophy from the General, which makes this fight free. The next option is Immobilized moves. Hold the Line, Bash, and Toe to Toe are all good to plant you in rank 1 and block rank 2 from moving forward. Of course, since immobilization this way is limited, it's often a temporary solution. My favorite strategy is to pack smoke bombs on your fastest heroes, the meat has a speed of 5, and blind them before they can use their aroma skills. Dodge also works here, of course, if you can generate it. Neither are guaranteed, but more often than not, this is a pretty safe strat. A much worse strat is rushing down putrid meat, as both meats are killable. Then you never have to worry about this nonsense mechanic again. The problem with this is twofold. Most of the time you want to rush this 120 HP boss, not waste 50 damage for no reason on a minion. Secondly, once 1 meat is eliminated, the child will begin to use Maws of Life every round, and if both meat are eliminated, it will use it twice a round, leading to an absolutely brutal wave of damage. With its efficiently scaled team, this fight shouldn't last more than 3 to 5 rounds if you avoid a bad wave of hunger. Dots are quite good, even Blight if you have Alchemist application, with 2 turns around, and no dodge or block being generated by the boss, though you obviously face back row blind from the meat. This is in my opinion the easiest boss, though still quite obnoxious with bad RNG from the hunger, and something any team can deal with, though you want a team somewhat flexible for the constant shuffling. The boss trophies I believe are the most powerful in the game, offering either 25 inventory slots, making it near impossible to run out of space, or a whopping 50% max HP for DBR, which sounds scary to a lot of newer players, but the max HP not only lets you focus on more damage by keeping you alive longer, but makes your heals much stronger since they're all percentage based. Conclusion: blind the putrid meat, and go to town on the boss to finish this fight before RNG has a chance to finish you off. Overall, the Foeter is a fairly terrifying region with the array of stress, blight, and nukes, with fairly limited stock of regional trinkets based mostly around blight, but the easier Lair Boss and incredible boss trophies still make it one of the best regions to face, especially as either a newer player or with a less specialized team that struggles with other Lair Bosses. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos every day. And become a YouTube member or join my Patreon in the description for early access to my upcoming videos.